Oh, Savior, stay this night with me.
Bishop Barnum of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I've been asked by the family to conduct these services for Sulinda Shetty Peace and pay our last respects to her Father in heaven. We need at this time we pay our tribute to Sulinda Shetty Peace. Father, we are thankful for the blessings we're thankful to have known her, we're thankful to know the family, and we ask at this time to bless them, that they will know of our love for them, that they will understand and know that this too is part of thy plan. Give them a peace and a comfort. Would you bless them with that and a large of those things which we know and understand. Again, Father, we thank thee for a blessing, and we ask you to help us in those ways that we can be of use to thee.
When her disease started to get the best of her, she never stopped loving her family, and as she was dying, all of us were there and we let her know that we still loved her too.
Our opening prayer will be by Brother Stanley Carr.
Chris was one of our friends in church who was in some place with her. I've had the opportunity of working with Selena on 2 road shows. The first year I participated in the road show when the 20th were won the overall best award for our production of And You Had Better Believe It. So Linda and I were members of the family, which was played with commercials coming to life in our home. So Linda was responsible for making sure that each product was presented in a proper order and for keeping the show moving. The next year Linda and I were the youth directors. The script was written and the sets were designed by Sulinda. Her ideas and talents greatly ensured the success of both of the road show.
While at Cashman and Western, we received letters telling us that Susie had received high honors for outstanding citizenship and great achievements. We also received a letter from the drama coordinator Elaine Sherman at Western saying she had been selected to receive an award in the drama department for time and talents given above and beyond the call of duty. Susie played the clarinet in grade school and junior high school band. She also in summer band for 3 years. Since he was a natural in acting, she was the lead in the Christmas play Santa Marmaduke. She played Marmaduke and made the cutest little gray mouse. At the time she was hauling scenery for their place and had her dad's 56 Chevrolet pickup truck. Everyone thought it was great and asked to borrow it. It was her joy. She was hurt when we let Larry have it, but she knew he would restore it so it didn't hurt so much.
I remember going to West Yellowstone and seeing a melodrama play complete with heroine, heroes and villain. It was a place just for fun where the actors talked to the audience and the audience cheered for the hero and boots and hissed and threw peanuts at the villain. So Linda threw peanuts, seldom reaching the stage, but she kept throwing, trying, laughing, giggling through the whole thing. I remember her in a play at church. She played the lead role, a woman living in her house bothered by TV commercials. I remember the joy and happiness she had working with the group and the sense of belonging.
When Susie was 4 or 5 years old, neighbors took some of the smaller children to a local TV show called Miss Nancy. She was our local Cinderella. My mom and all had her family and friends everywhere watching Susie on TV. As the show was being broadcasted, Susie kept playing on Mrs. Nancy's skirt. Finally Mrs. Nasty totally audienced that one of her little guests Monday to tell them something, so the microphone was handed to Susie and the whole town waited to hear her big TV from her. Susie said, "I need to go potty." Susie loved to fish. When my son was about 6, we all went to the lake to fish, so we wanted Bobby to feel good, so I had him away from the store. So he took one of her catfish that she had caught, put it on Bobby's line, then she called him to hurry because there was a fish on his line. Bobby was so proud as he pulled in the fish. Susie never told him what she had done. That was our secret. When Holly, my daughter, was 8 years old, since you wanted to give her birthday present, this was during the latter part of her series life, and she did not have much of value or money to buy gifts. However, she had a porcelain picture frame and earring box and a vase which she admired. Susie gave us the holidays a gift of love. This was not an isolated condition. She always gave them what she had, even though she had little herself, if she could make people happy with her gifts for just 10 minutes. One story I have is when we visited her in the hospital when she was ill, when she had gotten so thin. I remember hoping her vitality, enthusiasm would return when she got well. I always felt sooner, and I had a good relationship and a friendship, and I'm pleased that I had the opportunity of having her in mutual with me. We had lots of money making activities, breakfast carnivals and things like that that paid for super activities in Selma to always help. When I asked her to do it for me, she was always fun to be with. I'm sorry I'm not able to be at the funeral today, but would like to express my love and sympathy.
I remember picking up Sulinda from the hospital when she was born. All of us were so glad to have a new little baby. I was probably still 3. She was really cute and had a lot of dark hair and a little brown curl. She had big brown eyes. She was my best playmate when we were growing up. She'd always give me my way. She was always the baby when we played house together. Anything I cooked while we were playing she'd eat. We used to dress up in mom's clothes and play ballerina. We thought that was really great. When we used to visit grandma's Fanny's house, we used to climb in her clothes chute. That was the most exciting thing in grandma's house. It had bars on it like a jail. This is up in Idaho. In my mom's home there was a piano there too. We used to make up songs and dances and perform for somebody, but we were really performing in front of us.
I always liked her smile and her sense of humor. She always liked to joke and act funny. She enjoyed life, but most of all her family was important to her. Mom, dad, brothers, sisters, grandparents, especially her grandma Fanny, whom she would call from time to time when she needed to talk to someone.
Due to the age difference between Susie and I, we really didn't get to know each other until we took a trip with Mom and Dad one summer. We seemed to hit it off right from the start. We went on an all-day boat trip with Dad. I guess he thought we were going to fish. We had more fun sunny and playing around that summer. We were closer than we ever have been. This is probably the best memory I'll cherish forever, due to the age difference between.
Like all little sister, she would get into Maxine's Barbie dolls and Maxine's clothes. Whenever Maxine would ask, she'd say, "Oh no, I never." But in her singing picture she had on one of Maxine's sweaters, so she couldn't deny it. We always joked about it. When she was born, Chris phoned to one of her aunts and said, "I just prayed and pray for a little sister." She and all her sisters play a little mother to her. From then on, Canada says he remembers our fishing trips up to Maxine in Idaho. Once on, the kids were all on the river in canoes. Maxine and her friends rowed Susie up the river and left her on a pier, so she had to walk back. Then when she got back, she asked her dad to go with her in the boat. As he was stepping in the boat, Susie pulled away from shore, can do the splits, and fell in. Another time we took the float trip and we put her in the back with the fishing poles. Later we turned around and to find her pulling in the line by hand, and Ken said, "What are you doing?" She said, "My line's broken." I really did, and then it goes out again. She had a salmon on it. Like all little sister, she would get into Maxine's Barbie dolls and Maxine's.
One time she was going to run away from home, as kids sometimes do. We let her pack her bags, which she took and stashed in the neighborhood bush. There we found on top of her bag our family picture. She of course did not run away from home, but the picture showed the importance of her family in her life. In short, she loved to do anything with her family.
Siemens was one of Sulinda's friends, and she told of a water fight they had when they were very young, about 10 or 11 years old. She said she happened to had when they were very young, about 10 or 11 years old. She said she happened to have her bike at my house and the garden hose was on Z. I knew it. A water fight started between us. There was a competitiveness between us that made us not want to stop. I would not give up, and neither would she. We tested her strengths to see who could get the hose away from the other. Needless to say, neither one of us, for each of us was soaked, and only after a complete fatigue set in would we stop and laugh and think of the silliness we both displayed. We had fun, we were tired, and we like each other. I'm only sorry that the bike never came back to my front yard, for I'm sure my garden hose was ready for another round or two. Marine Seaman.
always liked her smile and her sense of humor. She always liked to joke and act funny. She enjoyed life, but most of all her family was important to her: mom, dad, brothers, sisters, grandparents, especially her grandma Fanny, whom she would call from time to time when she needed to talk to someone. Crohn's disease when she was 16 that made it hard for her intestines to absorb food. The nurses said you couldn't imagine the pain involved in that. About 2 or 3 years ago we sat in the car and she was talking to me and she said, I want to do the things that you do in your life. I want to go to church and have a family, stuff like that. Another story I have is when we visited her in the hospital when she was ill, when she had gotten so thin. I remember hoping her vitality and enthusiasm would return when she got well. I always felt Sulinda and I had a good relationship in friendship, and I'm pleased that I had the opportunity of having her and mutual with me. We had lots of money, make activities, breakfast, carnival and things like that to pay for opportunities.
Like all little sister, she would get into Maxine's Barbie dolls and Maxine's clothes. Whenever Maxine would ask, she'd say, oh no, I never. But in her singing picture she had on one of Maxine's sweaters, so she couldn't deny it. We always joked about it. When she was born, Chris phoned to one of her aunts and said, I just prayed and pray for a little sister. She and all her sisters play a little mother to her. From then on, Canada says he remembers our fishing trips up to Maxine in Idaho. Once on, the kids were all on the river in canoes. Maxine and her friends rowed Susie up the river and left her on a pier, so she had to walk back. Then when she got back, she asked her dad to go with her in the boat. As he was stepping in the boat, Susie pulled away from shore, can do the splits, and fell in. Another time we took the float trip and we put her in the back with the fishing poles. Later we turned around and to find her pulling in the line by hand, and Ken said, what are you doing? She said, my line's broken. I really did, and then it goes out again. She had a salmon on it. Like all little sister, she...
One story I have is when we visited her in the hospital when she was ill, when she had gotten so thin. I remember hoping her vitality, enthusiasm would return when she got well. I always felt...
I remember picking up Sulinda from the hospital when she was born. All of us were so glad to have a new little baby. I was probably still 3. She was really cute and had a lot of dark hair and a little brown curl. She had big brown eyes. She was my best playmate when we were growing up. She'd always give me my way. She was always the baby when we played house together. Anything I cooked while we were playing she'd eat. We used to dress up in mom's clothes and play ballerina. We thought that was really great. When we used to visit grandma's Fanny's house, we used to climb in her clothes chute. That was the most exciting thing in grandma's house. It had bars on it like a jail. This is up in Idaho. In my mom's home there was a piano there too. We used to make up songs and dances and perform for somebody, but we were really performing in front of ourselves. One thing I remember about Dad is that he tried to start his barbering at an early age. He'd have us girls sit down on the couch and we would curl his hair and put braids in it. That was a long time ago because he doesn't have any hair now. I remember when I was about 11 and someone was about 8, and the kids would always say, are you still playing with dolls? And I would say, yeah, my mom thinks through. Linda needs to play me to play with her. It got me out of embarrassment by playing with my little sister, but I loved her too. Linda loved to act. She tried out for all the school plays and she was the lead actress for one of the Christmas plays about her mouse. She loved her dad's old white truck. I used to make Dad stop at the corner so they wouldn't see me get out of it. She begged our dad to let her drive it to school. The guy thought it was a needle truck and they would all gather around. She used it a lot to all say stuff I'm not. Everyone has that by issue, and they came up to visit me for a week and we really had a good time. She came to my classes and we did a few things after she came home and told Mom if that's what college is all about, I can't wait to go. Of course I had a bowling class, a dancing class and a photography class. Real fun things, but she enjoyed that week. Selena loves to fish. Dad taught us when we were little and we used to go fishing up in Yellowstone every summer, and she used to like to come out here and go to the lake and fish. She loves children. Every time we would go in for a family birthday party she would make every effort to be there. Like when my kid had a birthday she would always bring whatever she could. If she couldn't buy them anything she'd bring them something nice from home. She really loved her family. When her disease starting to get the best of her she never stopped with her family. As we were on dying all of us were there and told her we love her.
Due to the age difference between Susie and I, we really didn't get to know each other until we took a trip with Mom and Dad one summer. We seemed to hit it off right from the start. We went on an all-day boat trip with Dad. I guess he thought we were going to fish. We had more fun sunny and playing around that summer. We were closer than we ever have been. This is probably the best memory I'll cherish forever.
I had the privilege of knowing she wanted as her bishop during her teenage years, and I grew to love her. She was just like all these people have expressed her as being. She was so full of fun, and even when she was sad and in the hospital she always seemed to hold her chin up and look to the future with courage. Selena was fortunate because she had two wonderful parents who loved her and understood her. She was forced into have three sisters and two brothers, and she was proud of them, and I'm sure that she's fortunate now having Kenneth and Dorothy be the mother and father of her children. They've been so for many years and will be so for many years in the future, and she's fortunate and having brothers and sisters that will help give their time and their love and their means to helping Ken and Dorothy raise these two great young men. My wife and I visited with the Shadys down at the hospital. I felt the love that was in their family had bonded together, and sadness of why we're here today. With Selena's passing away, I wanted to tell you how special each and one of you are and can be special people. I'm grateful for the opportunity I've had of knowing Mr. Shetty and for him being able to be by my side in the bishopric, and notice is a gift of him if he doesn't take, and not to have worry about the son that is. You're also special. Well, out of the hospital she said, you know, I've got only two my visiting teachers done, but says I'll make sure I get the other two. She was concerned about her visiting teaching. You got to be a special person to be worrying about numbers when you got your own things to worry about. I'm so grateful for the knowledge we have of the church. You know, one of the prophets said when a person rises and then resurrection, his body will be perfect. Bodies will come up as they are laid down. Immediately they will have a perfect form. All people, young with old, when they come forth from the grave, scars will remove, and no one will be hurt, bent or ill. I had the privilege of
1957, Dorothy and Ken Shaddy were blessed with a beautiful girl. They called their little girl Sulinda. She is now known as Sulinda Peace. She died on July 15, 1987. She has two boys, Robert Edward Peace II, 8 years old, called Robbie, and Justin Ronald Peace, age 6. She also has sisters that are still living, Kathleen Gump, Lauren niece Maxine Waite, and she has two brothers, Robert Shaddy and Larry Shaddy. She went to school at E.W. Griffith Elementary School, Hyde Park Junior High School and Cashman Junior High School. She graduated from Western High School in 1975. She came with her family to Las Vegas just before her first birthday. They lived in Garden Place until 1961 when they moved into their family home on Mayflower. She's been a member of the 9th Ward, 12th Ward, 28th Ward, and has come to this chapel
for us
all
to
her
know
life,
each
where
other
she has
except
made
as we manifest ourselves in distorted shadows to the eyes of others. We do not even know ourselves, therefore why should we judge a neighbor who knows what pain is behind virtue and what fear behind vice? No one, in short, knows what makes a man. Only God knows his thoughts, his joys, his bitterness, his agony. The injustice is committed against him, and the injustices he commits God is too and stupidable for our little understanding. After sad meditation it comes to me that all lives, whether good or an error, wrongful or joyous, obscure or of gilded reputation, painful or happy, is only a prologue to love beyond the grave, where all is understood and almost all forgiven. It is not possible for us to know each other.
First, her mother had these things to say. She said Lionel and Susie shared an RJ paper route for a few years. Betty Applegate was a childhood friend and shared her first apartment. She said they did a lot of things, had a lot of laughs. Susie was one of her bridesmaids. Susie loved people and would defend the underdog. When someone would start to run them down, she would defend her church with all her might. She was always giving things to friends and family. Sammy was the most important thing to her and she wanted him close. Susie joined the 4-H group because of her love for horses and asked for a complete cowboy outfit on her birthday one year. As a teenager, she worked as a volunteer for many hours at Operation Bridge, helping young people with problems. She loved her life, poetry, and spent hours sitting up in the big tree in the backyard. They were poems about friends in life. When Larry and June moved here after they got out of the Navy, Susie spent a lot of time with them on their boat on the 4th of July when your Susie and Larry took the boys to Manti. It was hot and lizards ran over them while they were sleeping in the sand, so they packed up and came home. A day or two later she went with Donna Davis and the Mutual girls to Mans High in Salt Lake. She really enjoyed this and always talked about the pageant. I took her to see Saturday's Warrior. She was so touched she cried almost all the way through it.
Church was very important to her. She read a lot. When she was low, she became semi-active for a time. While living in the 12th Ward there, she became close friends with her visiting teacher Marilyn Smith, and stayed close for a long time. Church was very...
As we grew older, we both found different friends. When we would run into each other or just get together, we would laugh about the stunts we had pulled as kids in the neighborhood. She was a beautiful girl who had a disease. The disease hurt her family many times. I thank God that I have my set of problems because I don't think I would have been able to handle hers. I love Selena and her family. One time I went and picked her up and she had been in the hospital. When she was in the hospital, her parents would call me and I'd go down and visit her. She brought her little boy over, so she had one little boy that was walking and then another little boy she had had, and she was so tickled to have those little boys.
We often laugh about the time when Susie liked to play the phonograph. One night it was playing and we woke up hearing noises like someone was trying to get into the window. Ken went bravely out into the backyard to find out. We found out she had just left her phonograph on. Close friends with everything teacher Marilyn Smith and stayed close for a long time. Maxine and Susie shared bedrooms. It was real odd couple. Maxine was so neat and Susie was if she thought the time would push everything she owned under the bed before leaving. She couldn't wait for Christmas so they could have their own rooms, but Susie turned out to be very clean housekeeper and was bothered because of her poor health was prevented her from keeping things up. We lived with mother the year we returned to Idaho, and since he was born early every morning grandmother would wake up and Susie did too. They were quite quiet until time to work, then grandma had to leave, then Susie cried. Mother would say, "What shall I do now?" I'd say, "Put her in the crib," and as soon as work was over Susie would hear the door and would start calling for grandma. She would have grandma wrapped around her little finger. Susie was a good student when she wanted to be. I've been given a little thing that Susie wrote when she was in about
I got it. Bam. You know what that is? All right.
I'm thankful for my mom and dad. I'm thankful for them, how nice and kind they are to me, and hardworking for the nice home that I have to live in and be warm, that I have food and clothes so that I can have my things that I have now, that my half-brother is near me and loves me and he has two very nice boys. Then I have two grandparents, a grandmother and a grandfather to come for me and danger. I am glad to know that I have a real brother that will play with me and three sisters that can help me. I am glad and thankful for the school I can go to and learn, that I have friends and papers and pencils and books and pens and flowers around me and dogs and kids to babysit like my cousins, things to play with like dogs, horses, pigs. Glad I'm on the earth I trust, to go to an ice skating rink and a day for being sad and happy, and for a government and a president. Sulinda.